How do you go from being a young boy in Belfast, an altar boy to boot, to joining the Marines and then segueing smoothly into becoming an actor?
You're listening to The Creative Bridge, a podcast to inspire veterans to look to the creative industry for their next career. My name is Alec, and together with Lee and Brendan, we're sitting down with veterans who have already transitioned into creative roles. So join us as we talk about their transitions, the lessons they've learned, and what you could do to follow a similar path.
The Creative Bridge. Enjoy. No spoilers.
So if you are a service leaver or a veteran and you've thought about the creative industries at all, the chances are your thoughts are focused primarily on acting. And in this episode, we're going to look at how one veteran got their boot in the door. Lee, this really is your territory, isn't it?
Well, somewhat, I'd like to think. I left the Army back in the early 1800s. Well, actually, no, 1979. It took me till 96, and I trained in 96 at a professional training school, the National Conservatory of Dramatic Art in Washington, D.C., where I sort of relocated. And it was a joy to me, and that's what I've done since then. But, yeah, I have, 30 years in the business now.
Okay, so as I started researching today's guest, I found two sites, one of which was called Mandy.com, the other was Spotlight.com. Basically, they look like, well, almost like a LinkedIn CV or an agent's page. Is that what they were?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, actually. So the difference between the two, and not to slate one or the other, and I know, again, our guest coming up is a member of both of those, and he's very active in those, so he'll be able to explain how it's working for him. But how it worked for me is pretty much anybody can subscribe to Mandy.com. Spotlight, you have to be a professional actor and have some sort of resume. You can't just rock up and go, hey, I want to become an actor, I'm going to get a Spotlight membership. It's quite revered. But as an actor, you need that one.
Yeah.
If you're going to get anywhere. Mandy, it's a great to have. And I think coming up, we'll hear, they've done a better job over the years of representing actors.
Yeah. Okay, so today's guest started off as a Royal Marines Commando, became a mountain and cold weather specialist. Commissioned as an officer, he's been on national and international tours. He's played gangsters and corrupt politicians, although those roles might have been quite similar. He's appeared in Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle, Ready Player One, and most recently he has assumed the lead role in the soon-to-be-released series SUNRAY. Tip, welcome to the Creative Bridge podcast.
Thanks very much for having me. It's a bit of a joy to be here.
Brendan, are you good to go?
Always.
Basically, what we're going to do, Brendan's got a little quiz lined up so that we can find out a little bit about you as quickly as possible. It's not acting related, I suppose. It's more about where you've come from to give everybody a little bit of a flavour. Are you ready? Brendan, you're not going to hit the timer, are you?
Just count me down.
Okay.
Or tell me to shut up.
Right. Well, we've got 1 minute and as many questions as you can get through. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
We're on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Land, sea or air?
See,
TV, film or radio?
TV.
Who would play you in a movie?
Tom Hardy.
Yes. What is your biggest achievement?
Come on top of the Mountain Leaders course.
One thing that annoys you?
People dribbling and not spitting.
What job do you do?
I'm an actor.
Favourite hobby?
Being outside.
Where will you be in 10 years?
Hopefully still working as an actor.
Favourite firearm?
The SLR.
15.
Brew or wet?
Wet.
First thought when you wake up?
Party time.
In front or behind of the camera?
Front.
Most famous person you've met?
Steven Spielberg.
And that's it.
Nice one. That was Brendan's belt-fed bonanza.
So Spielberg, that would have been going back into Ready Player One.
Yeah.
I'm guessing over at
It's a great little story. Have I not told you ever?
No, far away.
Right, basically, Steven Spielberg, I was on set as a featured extra, and I was in front of Olivia Cook, and I had to press a button on a screen. This is inside the sort of big, the game, inside the game space, and I had to press a button, looking at her, I was one of the supervisors, and there was a boom and a big camera coming up behind us, and it's not my face, it's the back of my head. And I just kept pressing it. And in this little space of about, we got cut, reset, go with it. And just a little shuffle behind me. So I'm stood there, right, ready to do my bit again. And this shuffle, I'm going, hey, Tip. I like your rhythm, man. I like your rhythm. And I look around, and it's Steven Spielberg. And I was like going, thank you, Mr. Spielberg. Thank you. And we were bootleggers. We don't hero worship, but I was just gobsmacked. The bloke that made E.T. and Jaws and that is saying, hey, Tip, I like your rhythm. But within about 20 seconds, all of a sudden, one of my friends who used to be a Royal Marine with me walked on set and going, he looked at me and went, what are you doing here? I'm going, I'm in a movie. What are you doing here? And Steven Spielberg standing beside me went, I'm looking after him. So there's that little, and that was just that little microcosm of the world that was Ready Player One. I was like going, well, there you are. So I left the set that day going, I don't really give a fiddlers if I make it as an actor. That day I can live on for years. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Fantastic. So, Tip, if we go back, you're still in the Marines. How did you decide that you were going to leave and go into acting? Was it as simple? That was the decision, or did you leave and there was a process? How did that work?
Well, I'd come back from operations. I was the ops officer with the brigade Recce Force and 3 Commando Brigade during Herrick 14. And when I come back from there, I was drafted to 42 Commando in the headquarters as a captain. And I was sat at my desk. I had another 4 years left on my commission. I'd just come back from operations, and I was in the same commando unit, or going to the same commando unit as my son was in. And I thought, never thought I'd be in that position. But I never thought, when I joined the Royal Marines, that I'd be sitting in front of a computer screen at a desk. And I thought, even though I had to wear my reading glasses now, because I'd done nearly 30 years, and I was at a stage in my life of going, I don't think I can do this anymore. It's all I ever wanted to be was a Royal Marines Commando. But I realised then that this isn't what I joined up for. So I was privileged to have been a commando for 30 years, so I thought I needed another adventure. I looked into service life and LCAS, the support you get when you leave service, and I was a non-graduate, so with LCAS and your education credits, they can support you and get you through a degree course. Mm-hmm. And I thought, right, I'll do this. So I went because I'm an Irishman and I'm a bootneck, and we love telling stories, I thought, I need to do creative writing. I need to be creating stories and telling them to the world. So I went to university, went and seen the guys. They looked at the creative arts sort of space as such, and creative writing was there. And I looked at it, and I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to tell stories. But there was a degree course in acting beside it. Right? What can I bring to the party? And as a Royal Marine, no matter what, as soon as you get that first stripe on your arm, you have to perform. So you're a performer. And it's there, lead, people look to. You are yourself, but you also have to, in a way, become an actor. So you have to stand up and you have to speak to people. You have to lecture people. You have to be the person that people inspire to be. And that goes all the way through that rank structure. And I go, no, that's it. You work in theatres. You have to rehearse. When you're giving a lecture, when you're going on operations, everything just started overlaying. And I thought, no, I need to tell stories, but I need to do it by performing and by telling these stories by myself, verbally, on stage, and become the storyteller on stage rather than... But I still, it's not I've switched off creative writing, but to me the path was acting, and that the skills I learned in the service definitely mapped across, and they would help me as an actor, and they helped.
When you first walked into the mess and said, guys, I'm putting my notice in, and this is what I'm going to do, how was that received? What sort of support did you get? How did people react?
I know people listen to this and go, I think I was perceived within the service, with the Royal Marines, as a bit of a seasoned operational commando type character. So for me to give it, right, I'm going to be an actor. I think across the board, I all of a sudden, and I was expecting, should we say, far more banter and sideways, chatting that. But what I seen was, which is good because it's everything what the Royal Marines was to me, was the old, I like that. That's what we do. That's what we do. We grab this, we move forward. We say, right, I'm going to do something. I focus on it. And again, it's the old, I spit, I don't dribble. I go, right, I'm going to do this and become this. So you do it, but also you have all these people that you never thought had a creative ounce in their bones of sort of going, I was thinking of doing that. If you look historically across people that have been in the forces, the armed forces, whether politicians or, actors or creatives that went on and great writers, they've got, I think the services attract a creative and artistic type of person. And I think today's armed forces is allowing that, and it's releasing it, and now we're relishing it and going, we are quite magical. And it's that, that you think the full spectrum we have in the armed forces, it not only reflects society, but it reflects that chunk of society that is extremely creative.
But I was a PTI for the majority of my time and a junior NCO. And you're absolutely right, Tip. The first thing I had to learn was how to present and how to be someone else that motivated people, higher ranks than me to, basically get the button gear and do a Army physical training test. And so you're right, you do. And also just the creativity in general. I met so many incredibly educated and creative people in the military, but we immediately dismiss it because we're in the military.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could think back to things like Sod's Opera. That's a pretty classic example.
That was the query for me was, have you ever done any theatre work before? And I said, yeah, we do these things called Sod's Operas. And the term comes from Ship's Operatic and Dramatic Society, I think from olden days. And you do, in the Army they call it skiffs or something like that. But it's a similar thing. Yep. It allows everybody to get involved, and again, it's for all the people that aren't commissioned to make fun in a way the commission runs. That's what I loved about it. But I taught so many things, and I think the talent that I seen doing Swords Operas and seeing skiffs by different regiments is mind blowing.
But I sometimes wonder though, there's an element of people do that and they do it for fun. It's a little bit of a release from a way of de-stressing, but I wonder whether people seriously see themselves as being creative when they do that, whether there's a differentiation in their own mind. It's how do we look at ourselves? Do people in the military see themselves as being creative people?
Well, like I said, I think we are incredibly creative. Our co-op over there, Brendan, has just served his first stint as an assistant stage manager. And Brendan, what did you think of that? I mean, that was, I know it was a bit of a shock to you.
Yeah, no, it was actually a really good experience. It was sort of not quite sergeant major level, but, I was probably a lance corporal. I felt good. I enjoyed it. A little bit of responsibility, running around, fighting fires, and I was back in my element. Loved it, which I didn't think I would be doing. But everyone's much nicer.
My final little story I've been saying to Alec, it was only when I saw Brendan being an ASM that I went...
What do you mean, sorry, Lee, what do you mean by ASM?
Assistant stage manager. Basically, your ASMs generally call the show on left and right of stage, and your production stage manager, which is something that we're going to go into basically in other podcasts. There's so many more opportunities than just acting. But so Brendan was an assistant stage manager on a small production, called the show, put a lot of it together, and was sort of tutored to do that. But then I went transferable skills for the first time in my life, because I keep hearing this, and that's maybe a question I have for you. But transferable skills, how do we use those? Give a couple of examples of what you might see as transferable skills.
It has been eye-opening to me that the full structure of a theatre production or a film production, no matter what size, whether a big one or a small one or a television production, it's set up in a very military way. You've got the directors, you've got the producers, you've got your logistics, if you went through the spectrum of the G1 to G8, they're all covered. And everyone's got the specific functions to do and to deliver on. So that's why I was sort of like going, when I first got involved in it, I was thinking, has nobody else sussed this yet? This is just a military operation.
Yeah.
What do I have to be? Right? You want me to be an actor. I've got to be there at the right time, the right place, doing the right job, being the right person. Right, I'm the ASM. The ASM's a classic, because when you're in theatre, all your rehearsals are done, you're with the director, you make it bang, bang, bang. You haven't got the tech yet, you haven't got the stage yet, you haven't got the space yet. Bang, 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 bang. And even the director goes, right, we now going to hand you over to the SM and ASM. So the stage manager, so as soon as it gets on that space, they're like, it's like a big face plant off to them, and it goes over to these people, these people, and they look after it. But also they got, which I love, it is that you run on reels to a certain extent, but remember, when you got stage work, when you got film work, it stays on reels. Even if the director wants a little skew if that there, it stays pretty much on reels, like the tracks for the camera. But in stage, as soon as you're let loose in that stage, there's a little chuckle in that actor, because you then, whatever happens in that time that you're performing is yours. So you could turn into, you know, the most bonkers mad person, go off script completely, and everyone be going, no, because you own it. In film, you'll never own it. But also, you have a cheeky little look across the ASM, or the SM, you're checking on the words, or, you know, the lines going, he's gone off the rails, he's losing track. And I'm
where
going,
did that come in?
Yeah, I know. And I'm just going, I have a little, when you own it, and you become that actor, I have a cheeky grin on my face and look across and go, which again is so, and as an actor, those disciplines, they're so different. But
I've just got this thing popping up in my head now. It's easier to seek forgiveness than permission.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, God,
Exactly.
You know, so when you decided to make that move, when you convinced everybody, you know, if you felt that you needed to, once you sort of had made that decision in your own mind, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to leave. Was there anybody there that you were looking to, thinking, they've done it before me, this is a path that has been blazed by somebody else? Was there somebody that you knew that was almost an inspiration for what you were doing, or were you being a proper ML and cutting your own path?
So when it came to the transition, all I ever wanted to be was Royal Marines Commando.
Yeah.
So the transition, when it came to it, going, right, this is something I have to do. There was nothing, there was nobody on the horizon going, there's a path I can follow, there's this. So I thought, right, no, for me to be an actor, I've got to be a credible one. So I have to be, I mean, it's you, right, shall I go for the big London schools, the RADAs, the Lambdas, you know, which are, you know, East 50, they're all incredible, like, you know, actor training, you know, Collier, you know, well, they are, you know, organisations. But for me, I live in the Southwest. I've got an actor course here, I'll do it. For me, becoming an actor in your late 40s is, I'm reliant upon my life experience. So that life experience, when you get into that environment, when I started actor training, remember, there's me, 47, and the nearest mature student to my age group was 23. And they were just so put off by these young 18-year-olds, which, I mean, for me, you're that going, okay. So, and there's that spectrum of people. And when I started it, I'm going, well, no, I've worked with young people in the Royal Marines, you know, there'd be no problems. But the seamless transfer that I was sort of guided to go, I think you should do a seamless transfer, because it's going to be really, really a different sort of, like, you know, way of life in existence. Going, oh, okay, I'll seamless transfer. So I'd done it. And that was probably the best thing I ever done, because it allowed me to do that sort of like fusion back into civilian life, but also into the creative arts and that world easily. After like my first 3 or 4 days at university, I was realizing I need to go and speak to grumbly old men for a day.
Explain seamless transfer. Sorry, because
so seamless transfer, when you come to your decision point to leave the service, whether it's time served or you've got a new career, you're offered an opportunity to seamless transfer. So you don't actually leave the service. You leave the service, I think, for a nanosecond, and then you become a reservist. And that allowed me, I think, after 30 years regular service, you know, to move on, but keep things that are passionate and love, which I love the service for, and I respect it massively. It allowed me to keep doing that, but just break it slowly, and move away and become fully immersed into my new career as an actor. But it allowed me that transition.
I think what we'll do is we'll just switch up now, and it's that what I'd like to focus on a bit is that the actual practicalities of how you made that transition. Once you decided, I'm leaving, put my notice in, get a page on Mandy, start acting. Was it as simple as that? What was the process? How did you go from being a Royal Marines Commando to being an actor and getting paid for doing that?
For me, starting actor training, that's your launch pad as such for those pathways to get yourself a spotlight profile, a Mandy profile, and an agent, which is quite... I think every young or new actor really looks to getting an agent and the spotlight profile for credibility and access to wider, you know, productions and theatre work. But when I started actor training, so I started the, you know, academic year as such, started in October time. So as I started, there was a few guys from the Royal Marines in Hasler Company, which is the rehabilitation sort of framework for the Southwest down Devonport. They said, oh, there's a Bravo 22, the creative arts aspect of the Royal British Legion. We're doing a play written by Jonathan Guy Lewis, Johnny Lewis, good friend of me and Lee's. And they're looking at doing a play based on local stories in Plymouth, at Theatre Royal in Plymouth. So this is the summer, and I went, So I approached them and said, oh, yeah, I'm starting an actor course, would I be of any help? And they were sort of going, well, really? Well, you're a Royal Marine and you're going to become, well, that would be exceptional. So I got involved after sort of like the development, the R&D had sort of like been moving forward. And I got involved with it, and my lecturers are going, so hold on a second, you're just starting to train as an actor, and now you're on the lyric stage at the Theatre Royal Plymouth, at Christmas time. And I'm going, yeah, is that good, is it? And they're going, yes. But it was brilliant. It was a great experience, but it was fully linked into like what Brendan was doing, the ASM thing, that opportunity going, how does professional theatre work? What is the drills, the process through R&D to rehearsals, to creating scenes, to then rehearsing it, optimizing it, working with a company. And it was a brilliant experience. And that was during my first year, as well as like alongside doing my training as an actor. I couldn't have think of a more perfect, start to my career as an actor. Yeah. And that was brilliant. But that experience of working with Theatre Royal, that sort of gives me more access or ability to get into Mandy. But then as you move through, then in your actor training, you'll become, an equity member, which, I fully believe in, and is really supportive to the industry and the performers across the spectrum, like equity. And then
sorry, Tim, what is equity?
Equity is the national, it's the Actors Union.
Okay.
So you start off as a student equity member, and as you become professional or trained, and you start earning as an actor, then you become a full-time member in equity, which I am now, and I will be for the rest of my career. Yeah. So as you go through your actor training, you also then get presentations from the people at Mandy, which Mandy's now linked in with, or sort of now fused or semi-fused, tail-ended with Backstage, which again gives you global access to other sort of, theatre, film, commercial, all types of work. But even with these, to get those paid jobs, it's payments, so you have to budget for these things. So I think Mandy's about £150, £170 a year to get a standard members. Spotlight you have to pay every year. Backstage you have to pay. So these are things that you have to cost capture and budget, which everyone's got to do. So, it's all part of that military background going, you have to do your G4, your finance, you have to, everything's there, those spectrums there. You have to do your plans so that you're spitting and not dribbling. You know what I mean? So it is, you've got to focus on it.
And the thing about Spotlight as well, though, is as an actor, if you're going up for something credible or you run into someone, first thing they'll say is, they don't say anymore, oh, send me a headshot. They just say, send me a link to your Spotlight profile. Yeah. So it is absolutely worth, and if you don't have one, it doesn't mean you're not a good actor. It just means in a lot of people's eyes is like, well, a person maybe can't be bothered.
I wouldn't. It's not a judgment thing. It's just part of that process. So do you have to have it? No, you don't. You do not have to have a Mandy profile. You don't have to have Spotlight. But if you were looking at an enduring journey and career,
you're right. There's a ton of work that you can get out there without having to pay anything. But it's a bit of credibility, and it's a bit of how serious do I want to take this and myself, I feel, in this career. And when we were basically, looking at your profile and everything, we went, wow, Tip has really taken this pretty damn seriously.
I mean, certainly when I left, I didn't ever anticipate. I never thought the creative industry would be open to me. I thought that door had been long closed. It wasn't until a couple of years after I'd left that I suddenly became aware that there were avenues. But you left knowing that this is what you wanted to do. So was there anything in sort of your transition, your career transition, that you were able to make use of in order to forward where you wanted to be in your career?
I mean, everyone gets that opportunity for a careers transition. But for me, because the path was already there, and I did have like multiple interviews going, right, what are you going to do? I'm going to do this. And they're going, and they sort of check with you because it's not a fully tread path or, something that follow quite often. So they're going, well, do you know what path you're doing? Yes, I'm happy with my path. But I accessed like other, the transition the transition from the armed forces scheme, I think for me it's good, but it allowed me to tap into different other things and learn new skills, which helped me in life as well. And also, maybe if the whole bubble burst, I could still fall back on and I had training for other things. But I'd say for acting workshops, there wasn't, and I'm not knocking it for that. Maybe there's other ways, maybe there's avenues we could create for service people to go, right, I can follow that path, right, I'm going to be in the creative arts, let's see this. But I think those routes would be the ones that you could Google search and I want to be an actor. And that's the way life is nowadays. You can go, right, I need to be, and I think there's little aspects. There's an app now which created by a former Royal Marine called Employable, which you can do exactly that. You can give it the old, am I advertising? I'm not. He's a friend of mine. He's created this because he wanted to go, right, I want to be an astronaut. This is the path you have to follow. These are the courses you need. This is where you have to be. These are the people you have to communicate with. This is
the app is called Employable.
Yeah, Employable.
Right, we'll put the bite on him for sponsorship then.
Yeah. No, but again, he's one of he's still in fact, I think he's driving, even though he's the chief executive for this, pretty growing beast.
Yeah.
But at the minute, he's driving an ambulance in Wales because he's an RMR, he's a reservist.
Right. Okay.
So he's tapping back in and paying back. He's still a reservist, but he also won Entrepreneur of the Year for NatWest. So
brilliant.
An incredible person, individual, full of energy, but he creates things that are going, right, what do I want to be? And this is the thing I find as an actor, in the service, I'm going, right, I am going to be this. And unless you obviously get broken in some way or anything else there, but everything's yours again. If you focus, give 100%, in the armed forces, you will achieve. There are certain things that pretend you can't, but but if you give 100% and you're not suitable, you've still got focus, or I'll move something else. But you will achieve, generally. But as an actor, when you strive and push, you go, that role is me. That role, that is so me. And then it goes to somebody else, and you're going, why? But that's not your choice. And that for me was the part of the learning things, was that build up that rhino skin. To go, right, sometimes it's just people's perceptions going, it's not you. Remember that the old the lottery thing? It's you. Yes. Well, now you're going, sometimes it's not you. But I'm learning now. As soon as I give that audition or that self-tape or that casting, as soon as I walk away from it, I'm going, right, you're dead to me. Push away. It's a big arm off in rugby. I'm going in for that try. Don't care about you anymore. And that's it, and you move on. If they come back to you, you might go, all right, I might have a little chat. All right, but as soon as it's done behind you, move forward. Yeah. And that's the way it's got to be. And I think that's my career now. I'm going to be employed and unemployed in very short periods of time for the rest of my career. It's not like I get one job now for the rest of the days.
I was going to say, if there's anything you could do, if you could go back in time to the point where you were in the mess, having a beer, telling the blokes you were going to be an actor.
Yeah.
What would you do? What would you go back and tell yourself in the mess? How would you go back? What advice would you give yourself before you opened your mouth and before you left the Marines?
I think it's, as a Royal Marine, because of, I think, luck, or the focus and who you are a bit of an international jet setter in Her Majesty's Royal Marines. Live like kings and all that sort of stuff.
Rock stars, aren't you?
You're rock stars.
And
that's the engineer side of things. But you've got that confidence. It's that realization. It's that building of the rhino's skin. It's that going, this is, to a certain extent, and I can. There's not everyone can become a Royal Marines Commando. But everyone can become an actor. No, but they can't. Not everyone can become an engineer diver or anything like that. Certainly not everyone could do it, but they could if they wanted to.
If they really wanted,
if they really wanted to.
Like that. That's
and done that. It's that thing, but it's just the old. Again, not everyone becomes a Royal Marines Commando because it's quite chunky and tough. But you got to focus. You got to do it. But to be an actor, anyone can be an actor. Anyone do it. But to be a successful actor, you've got to have all those skills and tenets you need to be an engineer diver, to be a Royal Marines Commando, to all those things that you've got to. If you think life's going to be easy, life's there for the taking completely, but there's some serious graft to put in. There's some serious focus to put in, and you got to keep doing it. Yeah. But just believe in yourself and believe in people you work with, and
That mirror image, isn't it? That mirror image of careers you're talking about there is sort of like when you day one, week one, you stood on the square, they always tell you that thing, no, 33% won't make it here, 1% will be an RSM, That 1% is Tom Cruise, isn't it, on that side of life? You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have a career, you're gonna make it through, you're gonna be successful, but you might not be.
Yeah, but with it, Brendan, you said it, but the fact is, it's not fame and fortune.
Yeah.
To me, like exactly what I said from the start is, it's storytelling. If you stand there and go, right, I'm telling a story. So if I can tell stories for the rest of my days and get a few beer tokens or something that can support me in some way, because remember, if this is your life, I think in a lot of ways it's a bit like, can we say a bit like being a fireman in the old days? You used to be a fireman, you are a firefighter. You'd be a firefighter, but you always have a second little job, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Of
Whereas an actor,
fires.
I'm an actor, but I've got to live and survive in some way. So you need to have, and again, you've got to be that dynamic, person as such.
You're absolutely right. Anybody can be an actor, and I would welcome everybody and anybody to pursue their dream. But a lot of people get up in the morning and they look at the watch and they go, let's see, what time is it? It's 9:45. I'm going to be an actor today. And miraculously, some of them get a leading role, but then they sort of can it, or the people who come along because they think it's cool. And those are the people who generally fall by the wayside. And so if you're coming into this field, don't get disillusioned by the volume of people that are here. You have to do exactly what Tip has said. It's been some of the best. This podcast has been amazing for me because it's been some of the best confirmation of what I've tried to do and sometimes failed over the last sort of 30 years. You have to have a plan. You have to have a formula. It doesn't mean that you stick by it. We have a script for this podcast, but we don't, depending on if we
I'm
get
trying to stick to it, Lee.
I
It's
know,
you two
I know.
that are not.
But I think as well, which is again, it's a big contemporary word a minute, is resilience.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think resilience in an industry which is, I think somebody said it's the most overpopulated industry on the globe, but it's definitely resilience and not this egotistical thing. It's storytelling.
Yeah.
It's It's you becoming and being and everything. And if your story, I think, forget about the big sort of the golden cup of being like extremely rich, being in Hollywood, doing this and all this nonsense. If you just go, right, it's storytelling, when somebody at the end of that story goes, that has changed me.
Click.
That has gone, I believe that. I like you. You're all right. You are. I go, yeah. But I'm going to be resilient enough to keep telling stories. But it's still about, I'm sitting downstairs in a lovely wee pub, doing an interview with a bunch of veterans, chewing the fat.
Spinning dits. Telling stories.
It is, telling stories.
Yeah.
You can't beat that, can
Yeah.
you? I don't think, so.
It is this business in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That's it.
Back when we were doing research and I said to Lee, what's the difference between Mandy and Spotlight, or Lee told me what the difference between Mandy and Spotlight was, the thing that had struck me was looking at your Mandy profile, there was one name that kept popping up, not over and over again, but a few times. Well, God came up a couple of times.
Well, if you were
played God.
If Tip was an RSM, then he's already played God, believe me.
But I was a W1. I never had the honour of carrying the cane of office.
The name that came up a couple of times that struck me was Soldiers Arts Academy. What is that, and how did it help you on your journey to become an actor?
I'd say Soldiers Arts Academy provide, very welcome access to veterans into the arts. Soldiers Arts Academy, the first time I came across them was I was just finishing a national tour with Bravo 22 with a play called Unspoken, which was an incredible play. We done an Edinburgh Festival and everything, and we're coming to the end of it. And I heard we were doing Soldiers Arts Academy. We're doing a production at Shakespeare's Globe at the Sam Wanamaker Theatre, based on the signing of the armistice 100 years, and this is obviously 2018, and that would be performed that night on the 11th day. I thought, for me, so much of my life has been from service. So for me, it was so important. And they said, look, what could you bring to the party? They offered it to me. So, well, I've done this little thing, and I've got a story just about my great-grandfather who sadly died in the Battle of the Somme. And then 4 days after he died, my grandmother was born. So he never got to see his daughter. And I was named after him, Thomas Cullen. Like, you know, so Tip, I'm Thomas Patrick, that's where Tip comes from. And it was that journey from then skip a generation to me being in operations, then skip a generation to my son being on operations in Afghanistan. And that was, to me, was probably one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, is just coming back from operations in Afghanistan and my son deploying to that very place as a Royal Marines Commando. And I never realised how hard that is.
Yeah.
But then when my son deployed in operations, I realised straight away that's exactly, you know, the hardship and realism that hits home about what it's about. So I put together this piece. So I memorised it and done a monologue, and I had the honour of, you know, 100 years since the end of the First World War, standing on the San Juan stage with all those wonderful candles lit to a packed house of 300 people, and this beautiful, like, you know, space. Everyone's on top of each other, by myself, and just telling a story which is really close to my heart. And with Shakespeare in it, which I love Shakespeare. My passion for Shakespeare was reignited when I'd done actor training. So I had the honour of doing this, and that moment of being able to do that in that environment, that to me was going, this is what it's about. Real stories, real people, layered in with Shakespeare. It was just magical, you know. Why did I end up down that path anyway?
No, well, we talked about Soldiers Art, so that was actually put on by the Soldiers Arts Academy.
Give me that access and give me that opportunity, and with that link, enabled me to go back and you know, work again at Shakespeare's Globe. Since then, obviously, I'd done a national tour with the Soldiers Arts Academy when we'd done Soldier On, and I managed to get to Canada and perform there as well. And it's an incredible organisation, fused in with veterans and professional actors, you know, with a lot of, you know, very experienced professional actors as well. And that's, again, another opportunity for a veteran to perform professionally, building your experience and your employability. How am I going to put this? I would say, I think every veteran who's interested in the arts, when they're leaving the service, should really touch base through Soldiers Arts Academy. It's the creative arts, so we've got to get involved. The Soldiers Arts Academy will give you free access to professional workshops, to professional dance, and productions means you've got the ability to come on board, whether it be in front on stage or front of house or, you know, behind stage, you know what I mean, in the support, like, you know, you know, through hair, makeup, sets. There's every discipline that we have in the armed forces maps across to theatre work and TV work. So if you want to get involved with it and get, I'd say, real-time experience that you can measure and put on your portfolio, touch base with the Soldiers Arts Academy.
What we've been given with Soldiers Arts is the ability to work with professional actors who have a proper, you know, professional CV with professional lighting, and there's all those elements as well mixed in with a bunch of rookies like us who are kind of going, I think I can do that.
Yeah, it's a fusion. I think it assists that fusion. You have to fuse. It's like fusing from service back into civilian life, but back into civilian life and then into the arts is another stage. So the Soldiers Arts Academy is a you know, a very, it's an optimal example of, you know, assistance that we can give to veterans.
Just in a world of my own there, right?
What's new?
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. I'm still here. I was just checking the battery on the camera. So when we were doing a little bit of research, we've seen that in an article in the Plymouth News about former Royal Marines turned film crew disrupting Hollywood's production model, which we found very interesting. So we read through that and we thought you might be able to go in a little bit more detail and explain about the difference in the models and what you did different, which is clearly the skill set that the Marines gave you.
Well, not necessarily the Royal Marines, but I have to say the project we're on is SUNRAY, which is an incredible action thriller stimulated and created through former Royal Marines. Script put together, and for the main part, the main characters are played by actors who are former Royal Marines, and the directors stroke writers are all former Royal Marines. But we also have army photographers involved, naval photographers involved. So there's a full, should we say, mix of veterans that are helping to create this. The team that are making it, Dan, James and Sammy, they're gobsmackingly magical, and their energy is infectious. So we had a weekend and we shot the trailer, which I think was very, very well received, and we managed to raise 85k initially to create the series, and we've had other investors that come along and say this is pretty good, and they've seen what we're doing, and we've got a few more weekends of shooting to do over the coming months, and then we'll be sort of farming it out to different platforms. It's a fully diverse and all-inclusive cast across the full spectrum of professional abilities, but we're all professional actors. And the story, I'm not going to no spoilers, because it is absolutely, it's believable, it's credible. The people and the characters come across as real people. But it's a story that I really, really need for people to see, because it'll show the trials and tribulations from veterans, especially veterans that have been exposed to traumatic experiences purely through their operational experiences and what service life has given them, and also that effect it has on family, society, and, you know what I mean, and also nasty people possibly. But that's the story. Has it changed the model of Hollywood? I don't think it has, but when we were talking earlier on, everything's about finance. If you get a certain level of finance, but if you get a quite dynamic or a dynamic beast, which is a service person, and I think you get an incredible all-rounder. So when you have that in a company, if you've got a company of veterans then, or a group of veterans making film or making magic or making theatre, honestly, I think you'd be quite surprised how magical that is. Not only because of their own imagination, but because of their work ethic and their can-do and their focus. And let's just make this happen. And I'm seeing that. So I'm looking forward to finishing SUNRAY so that I don't have this long hair and this beard that obviously, you know, certain people are going, you're looking... Well, no, I'm not even going to say, but my partner thinks my face looks like a dog's ass at the minute, you know what I mean? Which I don't. I think I look like Zeus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're back
to God now again.
Yeah, that's going on social media. Would you say in that, all of what you just said, it's basically, I'm going to say, it sounds to me like it's a group of like-minded people who have taken skills that they all have and they all understand, and then taken those skills and taken them just to another task.
Yeah, completely. But it's... I don't want to take away from the people that are magicians in the industry as we see, because they are incredible, and every day is a school day for any actor or anybody in the industry. So, but what I'm finding is that military ethos really maps across so effectively. It's breathtaking. It's gobsmacking. So I said, anyone out there, if they want to get involved in the movie making, the theatre making industry, get amongst it. But don't, and this is another one, everyone goes, yes, I'm away from the military now, it's behind me, I'm gone. I'm going, do not. It's part of you. And the way you're conditioned in the military, those formative years, put you in good stead, and rely on it and use experiences. Think of those people as well that have given you those experiences, and it helps you so much in the industry.
Alec and Brendan and I have talked about the fact that we felt like we were pulling up the ladder after our course at BFBS, because unfortunately for funding and COVID and God knows how many other reasons, there wasn't another one. And when we finished, it was such a joyous thing to go, oh my God, I've gotten this amazing opportunity and training.
Yeah, but then how do you share that? You can't say everyone should come and do this course, because we knew full well they couldn't.
Yes.
And, it was really difficult to then talk about it. And that's what was the genesis for this podcast, was because we had that chance to be on that course and be fully immersed in it for almost a year. I almost thought we were novel, that there weren't going to be many people like this. And actually, one of the guests that we've got on the show, I reached out to him a while ago and said, we're doing this podcast. And he said to me that he'd been in the industry now for a good 4 or 5 years. I'm the first person that he knows is a veteran reaching out to him. That's not to say that other veterans haven't, but not by saying, I'm a veteran, you're a veteran, let's talk about this.
Yeah, but Alec, I can't. It's not a victim mentality. It's just it's a common bond and a common conditioning.
Yep.
Yes.
And you're going. That's why I've got this grin on my face. I'm going. It just so works. It's so suited to it. But it's one of those things in a creative and artistic world. They're going. In a lot of respects, you must admit, in a lot of respects, in the artistic world, they look upon the military as the living devil itself.
Yeah.
They do, don't they? But it's not. It's
Tip,
completely. You look at it. You look at historically, a lot of these big hitting actors and movie makers, they're all veterans.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going. So it isn't. You know, they separate it and go, right. That's military life. That's artistic and creative life. They can't mix.
Yeah.
Nonsense. It's always been there, and it's been there since Cuchulainn was fighting, in Ireland. It's always been there. So that all we're doing is, I feel, which is quite wonderful, be part of that bow wave of veterans getting into the industry, is going, we're back.
But should more veterans be looking for roles in the creative industry? Have we got something to contribute?
Oh no, completely. 100%. Veterans should look at it and look at those skills they've learned, because there's so many different disciplines within the armed forces. The skills they've learned that they can map across to the industry. There's absolutely tons of big films and creative film work happening in the UK now, and opportunities are there. They've just got to start their networking, start looking for it, gaining those skills through the SAA or any other, or even just other academies for that discipline. And there's loads there. There is absolutely tons out there. Again, maybe it's geographical in a lot of respects, but because of the way we're moving forward, it stretches as far as Wales, up north, Scotland, Ireland for a lot of people as well. So there's opportunity there, but it doesn't come to you. You've got to chase
for it.
And I know we've talked about acting in front of a camera, which is predominantly what Tip does. But, and we'll talk about it in other podcasts, but there's so much going on in other parts of this industry that you can't even begin to imagine. One quick example, and then we'll move on, because I know Alec's going to slap me a couple of times.
Yeah.
On the Harry Potter films, there were always at least 300 technicians working on carpentry and all sorts of skills like that to build those sets. Amazing, stunning sets that they created, but 300 people.
But I mean, we're looking at this a bit in a lot of ways. We're looking at quite certain things short-sighted, because you're obviously joining an industry where there's a lot of people that have been doing these various skills that are required to make films for a lot of years. So it's not like, there's going to be an invasion of veterans, coming in there because they're going to take it over because they're so much better. No, that's not what it is. You've got to fuse into that environment. So you bring your skill set, you give your can-do attitude, your workable attitude, your achievable attitude, and you bring it across. But you're not, right, I'm here, everything's tickety-boo, you can all take a day off. That's an absolute crock of poo, isn't it? That isn't what it is it?
I loved looking at your blog. So if anybody's out there, really recommend, go and have a look at sunrayseries.com, because you've not only made the television series, but there's the history behind how you've made it is there as well, and all about the crew and the actors and everything else. One of the things that I really was interested in is that you had just one blog that focused entirely upon weapon skills. Why was drilling like that so important for you on Sunray?
I'd still say there's still quite a lot of productions that are being shown on TV and that where the military aspect is less than credible or believable. Maybe not even from service life, but just generally, But I don't knock them. Remember, going, you crack on and you do what you do. But what we want to do is it's got to be believable. And I have had a few. You remember, once you once you put your head above the parapet, and I am, Andy in SUNRAY, so I'm the SUNRAY call sign as such. Once you put your head above the parapet, I've had people giving it, you had your safety catch on when you done that drill. And I'm going, no, I didn't. So, we're going to get loads of stick about it. But when we were doing it, because of the operational experience within the former Royal Marines that are, acting in it, operations, we trained and we drilled in a very same way. So when you've got your weapon system, you become one with your weapon, don't you? That's it. You're fused in it, your reaction to use it, the way you use it, the way you shoot it, the grouping size, your target, where you're aiming, every point of aim, everything, all those drills, malfunctions, actions on, they're all in your head. We as military people understand that. And if we can, in some way, bring it into film to go, that's it. Because remember, to me, I was a Royal Marines Commando. I became that because of all the reasons and why, everything, the adventure, the making a difference and everything else. But when you've got a weapon system, the only reason you've got that weapon system is in some way to deliver lethality, which is probably one of the most gross and horrible things in the whole wide world. So, like anything, like as an actor, you drill, you work, you make it perfect, you rehearse. And that's what it is. So with our weapon system, our weapon drills, a lot of it, even before we started, they were there anyway. So when it came to doing what we had to do, for me, as an actor, I don't even have to think what's happening with the weapon. So for me, I focus on delivering what the story requires.
But not, even though SUNRAY is veteran-owned, is that a fair way of describing it? A veteran-owned production? You did have people who've never held a weapon before. Oh, yeah. We're professional actors from, again, the full spectrum. Some incredible people. And again, I had a little chuckle to myself because we were, training to use weapons. And a lot of them had that movie angle, the way they hold their gun, they're like they're gangsters or this, that, like going, I kind of made me chuckle because they weren't us. But we want this production to be credible, to be believable. So we don't want them to be the operator of that level because that character hasn't been trained at that level. Yeah.
So you mean if they're operating at that level, you're going, well, that character's not like that.
If you don't get it right or believable, it's pulling focus. Really, especially if you're acting with a bunch of other soldiers who actually just naturally hold a weapon the right way, But that's where the value of what you bring to the party is, isn't it? If you don't, this is how we would do it, and I know that because I've got 30 years' experience of doing it.
But I was told as an actor trained, don't worry about getting typecast, get typecast, and then you can start working your ticket within it. But for me, it's storytelling. So I want to be able to help people, to tell stories so that people look at it and it's believable. If I'm typecast, I go, oh, yeah, you're just being what you were in the military. And I'm going, well, no, it isn't. And this is why SUNRAY, it isn't about the weapons, it's about the people, it's about the experiences, it's about the impact of those experiences and their exposure to trauma that changes those lives. And that's why the drills be good, because that's who I am. But to me, the story in there is so much deeper, and it's in every single person that has put a uniform on, and that's no matter what flag they're following or anything else not there, they make the choice to protect whatever they feel is valuable to them culturally. So that is what it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's I am a bit of a Zeus god with a weapon and doing that, but that is not what it's about. It's about human beings. It's about story. It's about love. It's about kindness. It's about loss. It's about malfunction and human spirit. That's where it is. It's not about Gucci weapons and But again, we'll attract people like that. But if we attract people like that have got that, that's what they're fascinated in. But they go, oh, hold on a second. This is about people. This is about disadvantage that are quandaries. And if we can in some way do that through SUNRAY, which I think we will, then the magic's been made.
Story is king, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you kind of touched on it there, but like, when are we looking at release dates and what platforms are you planning on putting on? Just a very quick one.
We're looking at Apologies for this here. Just pay for my train ticket, as we do.
Should we pay for it? I think that's probably been...
Well, steady on, mate.
Whoa.
When I say we, I meant me.
Yeah.
You know, but I can't do it today because my phone's in the house.
Oh, well.
I'll know me when I get home.
Do you know, last time he forgot his wallet, didn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never heard that one before. Sorry, I can't buy around my...
The old wallet
I left my
stuff.
phone in the house.
It's done. We're sorted. No, right. Say again, Brendan. Send over.
Yeah, so all I was saying, like, release dates. What, you know, when are you releasing it? I know it's going to be probably not that accurate at the minute, but... And what platforms are you going to put it on? Are we talking cinemas? Are we talking online? Let's hit it.
At the minute, it's in negotiations. So we've got to get the final product done. A lot of the post has already been achieved, but we've got to get the final scenes done and to get it, you know, the finesse put on it. We've already got avenues towards different platforms. I can't make any promise. People that know in the business and that, I can't go, right, yeah, we're going to be on this, we're going to be on that. But there's people interested, and there's also there's a global interest as well. There is an appetite, but they've this is new. This is a first. I'd say it's a first for, you know, a conglomerate of service people or veterans that are creating a bit of magic. So for it, when it does get released, hopefully they've got the business heads on. We're squared away, and we get, you know, I think the story's quite unique and magical, especially the production of it. And I think it's just got to be who's going to buy into it.
You're going to need to put the headphones on for the next bit. We reached out to people and said that we were going to be speaking to you today, and we asked for some questions. And I'm hoping that by the magic of technology, which is now going to absolutely let me down, I can guarantee it. We got some questions in for you. Let's see whether this works.
Tip, I wonder if you have any tips or tricks for learning your lines.
The learning lines scenario. I learned this from an incredible guy who's a playwright stroke actor, and he wrote the play Unspoken, which I performed in Newcastle and Edinburgh and a national tour. Gary Kitchen, he's an absolute gem. And he said to me, he goes, right, because people lean into it straight away and go, right, I must learn lines. No, you read in character. You read out loud in character. You get your own little special place and you become that character and you read out loud. You read. You don't memorize, you read. And the more you read, then you have a time or a point when you look at the script and go, I can learn it now. And then I learn it. So, but it's all about reading, but read in the accent, in the character, in who you are, and just keep reading and reading. The more you do that, when it comes to actually putting it to memory, it's already there. And you just sort of like tweaking it. And then you start living it. But it's read out loud and talk it. I mean, he said to me, before you go to bed, read it 3 times out loud. You look a bit of a weirdo with your partner and that, but it does happen. Read it out loud and then you sleep on it, and it sort of like just sears into your head.
So the next question, I think, is from Gareth, who's ex-Royal Navy.
Tip, could you tell me which is harder, acting in front of people in the theatre or acting in front of cameras? I'd also like to know if you have any experience with working behind the camera and whether or not that actually helps you when acting.
Yeah, it's sort of 2 questions. So the first, I'll do the acting behind camera thing. I never like to be a backseat driver, but when you're the guy who's at the front of the camera and you're looking at yourself, it's always quite horrible. When you look at yourself on the TV screen, you're going, is that really me? And then you realise, oh, God, it is. But, you know, with that, so I behind the camera work, there's people that have got far more experience and knowledge, or especially the high-tech business we're in now, and they're so much better at it. And the front of the character, right, the difference between theatre and film. Theatre, to me, is the actor's medium. You do all your rehearsals, you become the character, you immerse yourself in what the play is about. And you got a director who'll give you notes on notes on notes and trying to use you and, you know, create you and follow the journey to make sure that the journey and the play is an experience that it should be. However, when you're doing it for camera, you will do it and then you have to hit an emotional pitch for any storyline, hit it, and then it goes and cut and reset that. Can you do that one again? And you're like going, Jesus, got to get myself back there again. And you got to keep doing it and doing it. And there's not much of a journey in a lot of respects. But as soon as you achieve it and the director goes, yeah, I like that one. So he owns it at every point in time. And you as an actor, your responsibility and your duty is to get there and be there on point every single time, which is really, really hard to do. But you never really own it unless you're really magical.
So the final question is from Nathan, who's gone from driving tanks to driving cameras, and he's got this one for you.
Hi. So I've been doing camera work now for over a year. The problem that I'm coming across time and time again is that when I come to ask people if they would like me to make a video for them, I always get asked if I can do it for experience. How can I now push back against that and start getting paid for my work? Thanks a lot.
It's a very fine line. You have to understand, I can empathise massively with you. It's a very fine line, but really you should be paid. If you get involved with work and it's for free, whether you're a filmmaker or an actor, then it should purely be for building your profile. If people are asking you to do something for free to build your profile, I don't think you're the one that should be generating it. It should be you. So if you're doing film work, you have to be paid. You can adjust and maybe adjust the prices for it, do it on the cheap, as long as your overheads are covered and you get some money in the bank, because we all got to live. You've got to pay mortgages, you've got to pay rent, you've got to feed families, you've got to have, there's so many overheads that aren't just even to do with the business. You've got to pay for. People can't do it for free.
Tip, when you first started, did you do things like, local community theatre or student films and things like that?
Oh, completely.
And obviously, student films, you're not going to get paid. I think once I got paid £50. I'm not sure why the guy even paid me, but I was appreciative. But it's the same thing, isn't it? You can only do so much of that, and then you have to say, right, I've got to move on now. This is my career. I've done my apprenticeship. It doesn't mean I'm brilliant, but I did 10 gigs as an extra on film, and after that I said that's enough. It isn't an arrogant thing, but I spent a lot of money on my training as well, and I've invested time, as you have, as we all have, into what we call our profession. And as you said, at some point I need to tell my wife that there's money, food on the table and the mortgage is going to be paid.
And with it, like you said, the Mandy stroke spotlight path as well. When you get on there, I will purely only look for paid jobs, and it's because this is my business now. This is what I do. This is my career. So, that's it's an important thing. And I think if somebody's offering you the opportunity to do free work for them, I think there's just something a wee bit wrong there. You know what I mean?
I would quite happily move up from the beers now and hit the whiskies and carry on the chat, but I know that you've got to jump on a train and get away. Tip, thank you so much for joining us here at Passyunk Avenue, our home for the Creative Bridge. But if people want to find out more about SUNRAY, then you simply need to go to sunrayseries.com. The whole blog is there. It talks about the history of the production, the cast and the crew. There's tons of really good stuff on there. Take your time and go and have a look at it. Follow at SUNRAY Series, at SUNRAY Series, all one word, on Instagram, or SUNRAY Series on Facebook as well, and that will keep you up to date, so make sure you subscribe there. If this episode has piqued your interest, then make sure that you click subscribe before you go, because we're going to be back very soon here at Passyunk Avenue with another guest who has carved their very own niche in film production. We will, of course, include links for everything that we've discussed about today, so make sure that you have a look in the description. There'll be links to agents pages, to SUNRAY, and various other bits and pieces. So go and take a little bit of time, if this has piqued your interest, to have a look there. And finally, if you are a veteran working in the creative industry, no matter whether it's a soft step where you've taken your existing skills from the military and transferred them directly, or a hard step where you've taken a complete change in direction, we'd love to hear from you. DM us on at CreativeBridge on Twitter. We'd love to hear what you've been up to, and you never know, we might be able to get you in on the series.
It's been great to meet you, Tip, and I can't wait to get to the pearly gates. And I say, God, like, who would play you in a movie? And he's going to go, Tip Cullen.
It's our phone thing. It's stuck with you, isn't it?
Yeah, devastated. That's going to say banana in the edit. It's that banana thing.
I'm Tip Cullen, and you've been listening to The Creative Bridge.
As always, The Creative Bridge is recorded in the basement bar at Passyunk Avenue at Fitzrovia with the kind support of the Soldiers Arts Academy.